Dzień dobry, dzieci. It's the Flurza Experience, a show about Gwent, but so much more. I'm joined by the Boston Cream Bandit, Pavel Burza. Running out of donut related.
What is Boston cream?
So Boston cream is a donut. It's like it's like a standard, kind of, I don't call it vanilla donut, but doughy style donut. Inside of it, it's stuffed with custard, and it's dipped in, like, the top of it is kind of glazed with like a chocolate glaze, or you can get, like, here in Canada we have a maple glazed.
That just sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, Boston cream donuts. Like they're very, like, if they're, I don't want to say a tier list, but like they're like the OG, like they're like the original six. Like if you're a hockey fan, there's the original six, which were like the first six NHL teams that were like ever created. Like, but if there was like an OG kind of origin story of donuts, Boston cream, I think, makes the cut for like OG.
Similar to Ponchki, I see, from because it's not donut shape. It's more Ponchki. It's more, it doesn't have a hole in the middle.
No,
and it's stuffed inside. Nice, I see it.
There you go.
Yeah, so creamy with chocolate on top.
That's kind of like you. You got your nice presentation outside, creamy center. Delicious, awesome human being.
Dude, straight into the feels, man.
I do my best.
So yeah, hello Flake, hello everybody. Episode 12, 1 and 2. Moving on up, just like me and Gwent. Ha ha ha.
I saw you're at rank number 3 now. Look at you.
Yes. Trying to get to 2, but now it's the climb has become harder.
Are you playing only on stream, or are you playing like in your spare time? Like,
funny thing, because when I play on stream, I actually climb. When I play off stream, I normally don't climb. I think it's because I'm trying to focus on playing the game and working at the same time, and it's not really working out. But when I'm streaming, I'm focusing. Plus, chat is sometimes helping out. Thank you, chat. And thanks to that, everything's going better.
That's good.
And maybe the pressure of people watching is kind of like, I need to think about your plays.
Yeah, you're no longer just tossing stuff out there. I would suspect it was the different. Like, typically when I would try to climb off stream, it's a completely different experience, because I have all my focus. I have nobody that's kind of either trying to backseat or, I'm always open to suggestions, but some people just like to just name the plays to make, and I'm like, dude, if you want to play, then play. like, what am I? Like, I'm not your avatar. Like, let's go. But yeah, I mean, rank 3, so 3-0 in my estimation. Like, the way that I explain it, I tell people, like, don't feel bad that you're having trouble going from rank 3-0, because in reality, rank 3-0 is, in my opinion, the hardest climb. It is the most grinding and gruesome, because you'd no longer have people changing up decks to get their 4-faction MMRs. It's just whatever the best deck is, I'm going to get there so I can get to pro rank, and then we can open things up. So it's the most homogenized, it's the most repetitive from 3-0. It's in my opinion, 3-0 is the absolute. It's much more difficult and grindy than pro rank by far.
Yeah, it gets on your nerves for sure. Got on my nerves today. Somebody played freaking triple Caltullus on me. I just wanted to go to that person and smack them. Like, smack them. Why are you playing triple Caltullus on me? Jesus Christ.
Give my regards to that person, because that's a spicy meatball, and you gotta love it.
But it's a good meme. It's a good meme.
That's it. It's like, let me guess, it was like a Raucous Queen and a whole bunch of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, It's great. I did that with Maddock and just pissing out like 5 or 6.
I also played against a triple Maddock today. I was like, I lost by like 2 points. I was like, oh my god,
it's back, baby. I mean, with so many dwarves stacking armor and stuff like that, like, you need disruption and that kind of effects to peel away armor and stuff. I started jamming Surrender in my list, and people are like, why are you running Surrender?
I saw it in your dwarf list. It's super good.
It's great.
Super good.
It's so great.
Somebody plays Sultan's Companion, and you just see ya.
Yeah,
there's your companion. It's out.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Good stuff. See you next week. No problem. So this is episode number 12, and I figured if we did number 11, and I spoke to you about Saku Koivu last week, I'm going to talk to you about another Montreal Canadian, and that is number 12, worn by the Hall of Famer and I believe 10-time Stanley Cup winner. 10! 10! Yvan Cournoyer, who is a right winger and Hall of Famer. I believe it's 10. He was part of that dynasty. At one point, you guys want to talk about like the greatest sports teams of all time? There was a period of like 10 or 20 years where the Canadians won like every second championship. They think they won like 4 or 5 straight. Like they were the true dynasty. They've got the 24 world championships to their name. Like they are
incredible.
Oh my god. All right, let me find
Whenever
out.
I hear Hall of Famer, I'm like, this needs to be this is the real deal. The real deal.
Dude, he's still alive. I didn't know this. I'm very happy to hear that. I'm so sorry.
Chilling on retirement.
I think it's 10 Stanley Cups. I got to double check.
Incredible.
Anyways, so yeah, that's basically number 12. We've made it.
Nice. So this week's topics, what are we going to talk about? So we're going to talk about marketing in Gwent because there was a question about it, I think, last week or maybe a couple weeks before that. A hot topic always, and of course, a topic that is kind of tied into it, apparently, based on what the community is saying. Why isn't Gwent more popular? Let's talk about that. So yeah, those two topics, I think, will be happening today. Plus, then we will move on to the mailbag and answer your questions, as always, as we do every week.
That's what I want to hear. But before that, you know what I want to hear? A little something called the Dagon Rumor Report. And we do have merch regarding the Dagon Rumor Report. So
Yes. So the famous Dagon Rumor Report, you all now listening and watching can become a Dagon Rumor Reporter. I think, should we talk about it now? Or should we talk about it in between the segments? How do you feel? Like, do we want to give some suspense and kind of like...
Well, I mean, we'll tease it. We'll drop the breadcrumbs now, but after the main segment, before the mailbag, you'll see what we mean about the Dagon Rumor Reporter. I mean, if you follow us on Twitter, you probably already seen it or know.
Yeah.
But still, we'll talk about it later.
Okay, so regarding Dagon, of course, because that's what most of you watching and listening came here for. So contacts within the Hutt crime syndicate, so you know, Jabba the Hutt and the rest of them, on Tatooine have yielded some very curious information. A former pod racer overheard one of the pilots at the Boonta Eve Classic speak about a certain foggy entity having confided with the secretive Bomar Monk Society, who are vowed to silence because they have no mouths. We can only speculate on the chances of Dagon returning. However, our initial estimates cross-reference with the Bothan spy network suggest that the probability is around 0%.
Yes. I went back to Star Wars on this one, and I gave
Beautiful.
it a little. I gave it so. Yeah, there's the Hutt crime syndicate, of which you know Jabba the Hutt, obviously.
Yeah.
But did you know that there's also in the Phantom Menace at the pod race, which was the Boonta Eve Classic, which was the pod race that Anakin raced in, where he won his freedom. The overlooking Hutt is not Jabba; it's Gardula the Hutt. Who
I know they're a whole family.
Yes,
because
who I believe is Jabba's like sister or cousin. I forgot, one of the two. But damn, she's beautiful. She is beautiful.
Yeah. She's a 10.
And the Bomar monks are a religious sect of brains within some sort of jar that operate as kind of like, it's like a society that I think just removes itself from its body and exists. So they're like a brain in like some sort of jar thing that walks around in like with like spider legs, like a mechanical spider legs. If you look up Bomar monk, they actually showed them in the new Boba Fett series. You'll see them briefly.
Nice. Actually, Boba Fett was always my favorite. And when I watched like The Empire Strikes Back, like I don't know how many times when I was a kid, I started reading the books, kind of what happened to him after him falling to the Scarlac and stuff like that. And then I also learned that actually the Hutts have the whole crime syndicate, and I think it was also present in the Clone Wars, the animated ones, if I'm not mistaken. So they kind of dive into those things. I still haven't watched Boba Fett because Disney Plus is coming in June or July to Poland finally. So I'm gonna catch up on Mandalorian and Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, Mandalorian, so good. All right, way back machine time. We got a lot to dig into this episode beyond the marketing, but in 2019, my friend, there was for a limited time, premium kegs were on sale for 4,000 scrapperoony doonies. And
Dude.
this actually ties into a question from the mailbag. So I'll just drop this in right now. From Savage Poetry saying, will we ever get a converter of some sort where we can exchange useless scraps for meteorites? So this has happened in the past. And I know that over the course of a year or two, I have been very vocal amidst the developers that there should be some sort of resource sink out there to a degree. I don't know to what. I think we've even discussed it, you and I. But it happened in 2019 where for 4,000 scraps, you can get one premium keg. And I am definitely an advocate for bringing something back to this degree, whether it's a special event that you can pay scraps to get into. But as somebody who's sitting on like nearly 500,000 of these bad boys, I'm just waiting for something to just drop all my scraps into.
Yeah, I mean, we had that as an event, but it didn't really work out because majority of the players, they already have the majority of the cards, or they crafted them after the homecoming reset. So even it wasn't a very successful thing. Like kegs got bought, but not to the amount that would actually make us super happy. So it was good and bad at the same time. So I don't think it really changed anything for us. Maybe some people kind of were incentivized to get more premium kegs to get the premium versions of the cards. But I think in the end, if you're a card game player, I mean, you want the shinies, but they're like second thing. The most important thing is to have at least, the whole collection in standard form and kind of be able to create multiple different decks for different factions and just to have the variety when you're playing on ladder. So it wasn't too successful. But when it comes to trying to find a sink for scraps and reward points, this is kind of something that we're trying to fight with right now. And it's kind of like, I think I mentioned this also in a previous episode, it's us and the live ops team going back and forth, trying to find a way in order to actually, think how we can get players to spend those things and create a sync for it.
The next one was in 2019 as well, was the wrapping up and the results of a leader challenge. We've spoken about leader challenges and the ups and downs of what they are and how effective they were, and but do you want to guess who won the leader challenge back in 2019?
Scoia'tael, of course.
It was Scoia'tael. I don't remember what leader particularly in 2019.
Dana.
It was Dana. Yeah, Harmony and all that stuff, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Harmony back then was absolutely
dominant.
Yes, incredibly dominant. And I know a lot of people are like, why is Harmony so bad? Well, Harmony was so good once upon a time. So these things happen, and what are you going to do?
It was crazy good at the time. But yeah, wasn't a surprise at the time because Harmony was, I think it was fairly new when it was introduced at the time. So it was super crazy. I still remember the Dryads that when they were jumping and buffing stuff. That actually still works. I've been playing a weird deck with Golden Necker that has that, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, the Harmony, I think at the time was also, there was an aspect I think where people also would pair it up with the leader ability, like the Francesca leader ability, which was play a special card from your graveyard. So you'd play Water of Broccolon to drop 2 engines, and then you'd immediately use your leader ability to drop 2 more. So it was almost like you needed to, how did you beat 4 engines in one turn? You just couldn't. Yeah. So it got way out of hand for a lot of people.
Good times.
Oh, I know, good times. I know. Imagine let's just go back to Reddit in 2019 and just see how people were probably complaining about that.
Yeah, there were heated discussions, to say the least.
Yeah, heated is a good word. 2018 also was this week in 2018 was a big one, a huge one. This was the announcement of Homecoming and everything that was to be expected. Now, keep in mind, all you true believers out there who were playing at the time, you saw this announcement and it was good news, but bad news at the same time, because it was basically this double-edged sword of, we're going to give you a whole lot of cool stuff, but until then, you're getting nothing, and it's going to take about 6 months or so. So there was this hopefulness, but this skepticism as well, and in the meantime, there was this dark period. It was almost as if like the meteor hits the planet and that big cloud of ash and smoke creates this ice age, and you're just waiting for everything to thaw and come back to life. And that's kind of where we were at during that summer of 2018.
Yeah. Yeah. Homecoming always controversial topic.
But it doesn't need to be, because it was a good thing. Like, ultimately, here we are, and the game is still going, however, 4 years later, because of Homecoming. And that's what I think a lot of people need to understand, is that if Homecoming didn't occur, we would not have this podcast. We would not have everything that we have with the game, because
that's true.
It probably wouldn't have survived through 2020.
That's true, but then you have a lot of naysayers saying that the game was better before Homecoming, while there are some people that feel like the game is better now, and it's kind of an ongoing back and forth. Like, maybe it was better then, maybe it's better now. I don't know. Maybe it's like two-edged sword, I would say. But also, I just remember the time when we announced it and being radio silent for 6 months was just terrible, because I felt like, there was stuff happening, we're working on stuff, but there was nothing that we could show just yet. So from a person that works in communication, not communicating for half a year is kind of like, this sucks. So I was, it was kind of like a 6-month vacation, you could say, for me, but just prepping stuff for when we go live. But there were so many changes and so many back and forths that real communication started last month before the launch, is where we kind of started ramping stuff up and could talk about what players can expect. But we held them to the last moment, because, as people were like, a month passed, they were like, what's the progress? I want to know, what's happening. Is the game coming back even? There were a lot of
there's always premium tokens.
Yeah, there's a lot of doomsayers, they aren't gonna come back, they're going offline and stuff like that. So yeah, that's why it's kind of it's bittersweet. Plus, I had a lot of personal stuff happening at that time, which was terrible. So yeah, well, all in all, there was kind of a lot of things kind of being dumped on you at the same time. So not the bestest of times, but yeah, we survived somehow, and I feel like we're thriving now.
Yeah. Darkest before the dawn, and that was probably the darkest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like saying, all right after this gigantic, awful storm, there's going to be some sunshine. But in the meantime, board up the windows, because it's going to get ugly.
Yeah.
All right, so marketing in Gwent, and this is a hot topic because this usually pops up every now and then, and oftentimes it's more of a curiosity out of the community's mind, wherein people want to know, why isn't Gwent as popular as everything else? There's the fans of this game who, in my opinion, rightfully suggest that this game is up there with every other major card game. Now, obviously, the titans of the industry, the Magics of the world, the Hearthstones, the Legends of Runeterra that have such, colossal followings, and Flesh and Blood now also in the same vein. Why is Gwent such a fringe entity? Why is it the sort of taboo option when it comes to playing card games? Why isn't it as popular as everything else? And that's kind of what we want to dig into here, because I have my own thoughts and reasonings to it as well. But obviously, you being on that side of the fence, within CDPR, I'm sure that you can either corroborate what I'm saying or refute it, and that's kind of where we're at. So I'd like to start, if that's okay with you.
Go.
Okay.
Happy. I can jump off of yours and then say mine.
Okay. So the reason why I feel Gwent is nowhere near as popular, be it on Twitch numbers, be it on player base, I'm not sure, honestly. I don't know the numbers in terms of the player base. All I know is that when I want to get a game, I queue into a game, and there's plenty of people. And on any competitive season, there's typically tens and tens of thousands of people who end up in pro rank. Am I wrong about that? I don't think that that's incorrect. I think that that is incredibly healthy, and I think that that's very good. But popularity and health of the game are different. And here's my multifaceted suggestion, or not a suggestion, opinion about why Gwent is nowhere near as popular as the other games. The first part is that Gwent as a game has a completely different and foreign rule set and win condition than other games have. Other games, if you take the majority of other card games that exist out there, there is a life total and there is an objective to bring their life total to 0. Gwent doesn't have that. There's no life total. When people talk about aggro, it's an aggro deck. It's a mid-range deck. That means nothing in Gwent. No offense, and I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but there's no aggro in Gwent, and there's no mid-range in Gwent. Those are terminology used for other card games. There's control in Gwent. There's swarm in Gwent. I think swarm and point slam might be the most aggro-y slash mid-rangey. Sure, that I can see. But in terms of what aggro slash, so those concepts don't exist. So there's no cross-market appeal to somebody who's a quote-unquote mono-red aggro player. There's no, to a ramp style player from Magic who's like, oh, I play green in Magic, so I'm a mana ramp style player. So that automatically, I know what I'm doing when I pick up Hearthstone and play Druid, because Druid's a ramp faction. But there's none of that in Gwent. So the appeal of the rule set, the win conditions, the way the game is played, the no mana system, it's very foreign and incredibly different. And that it factors in two ways. It factors in because there's no immediate appeal to people who already can look at the game and understand the basic rules. Because for myself, when I picked up, let's say, the Elder Scrolls Legends or Shadowverse or whatever, just to see what these games were like, I picked up the cards and knew immediately how to play and basic rule sets. When I picked up Gwent, it was a painful experience to understand and learn the game to be good at it. So that appeal, there's a much bigger barrier of entry for existing card players, whereas a card player can pick up Flesh and Blood and say, all right, I know the basic strategies, and I can apply previous experience to become a better player. You can't do that in Gwent. So it's a much more difficult uphill climb to be a decent and Gwent player. The other thing is that, honestly, I don't think CDPR gives two Fs about wanting to compete with these card games. You could prove me wrong here, or you could tell me I'm wrong, but I don't think Gwent cares about wanting to be up there with the other card. Should it? Maybe, but I think that Gwent is very fine being the other option, being the different kind of card game in the field with the different rule set. I think that it's different enough that it doesn't necessarily need to market itself in order to stand out, because it stands out on its own. People already know that they can go from Magic to Runeterra to Hearthstone to Mythgard to whatever, and they'll get more or less the same flavor that they know. So those games need to compete amidst each other because they're living in the same space. Gwent is kind of like your next door neighbor, where you can go and if you're sick of the stuff that's going on, if you're sick of the movie selection on your shelf, or that you've seen everything on Netflix, maybe you go and hang out with your neighbor, which you might not typically do. Like, that's kind of what it is. It's a very different option, and I think that it's perfectly fine, and CDPR is perfectly fine saying, like, well, we're fine being the different one, because our appeal lies in the fact that people know we're different.
Oof.
Like,
nice.
does that make sense? Like, I genuinely believe that CDPR, and again, this might come off harsh or rash, but I feel that CDPR is like, no, we're The Witcher, we're Cyberpunk, and Gwent is kind of like a throw-in. And I know that might sound bad or detrimental, but I mean, prove me wrong here, that Gwent, out of all three of those games, has the least amount of resources at its disposal, and you could probably say yes or no or whatever. But in that regard, there's no if the resources are already limited, there's no reason to toss money at a marketing campaign that's gonna what, tell people what they already know, that Gwent's a different game with a different rule set. Like, I don't think it's really gonna help it in any way.
Yeah. Let's rewind a little bit and go back to 2016 when we announced the game on the Xbox stage. We had this crazy campaign for launch. We had people dressed up as cosplayers walking around LA. It's this very, very first trailer that was ever done for Gwent, and it's one that I wish I could forget, because I don't feel like it's stood the test of time. So they're pretty much walking around LA, like like throwing cards while they are in real life, dressed up as Geralt, Yennefer, Ciri, blah blah blah. And it was a big campaign. We also painted for E3 the Figueroa hotel with a key visual featuring these cosplayers like playing Gwent on a table. And it was a big, it was a big jump into marketing for the game. Normally these type of big marketing pushes and campaigns are done for AAA titles, not for card games. Card games try to always kind of go a little bit lower key. Plus, I feel like they're like you mentioned, the major players are already established on the market, and we're coming in fresh. Based off of the popularity of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. So on the back of the success of The Witcher 3. And we came in hot. I remember, if you remember, like how we did challengers and how we did esports, we rented whole freaking castles and stuff like that just for the sake of it. And we were doing a lot of marketing at that time. There were a lot of ads posted everywhere. And the problem is that you don't really see a lot of return on your investment in this case, because I feel like what Flake kind of mentioned is something that ties into Gwent overall, is that the game is so unique in terms of gameplay and different that I feel like the entry point to it is quite steep. Plus, with all the changes that we were doing and going back and forth, the game has changed multiple times, and we had players either stay, players go because they didn't want to relearn the game because everything changed so rapidly. I mean, if you look at our whole history, like we used to have silver cards. We never had provisions back in the day. There were different limits in terms of cards that you could have. There were gold, silvers, and bronzes. I mean, the game changed in such a way that, this constant change was kind of causing players to either abandon it or, or they stayed and they retried it. But I feel like we developed a community around it. And then when we were thinking about doing additional ads, we were kind of looking into how much is being spent on ads versus what are we getting from it. Like, are we seeing peaks of players? Not really. Like, you might see a spike in player base after a successful marketing campaign, but that goes up and then it goes down. And, it's not sustainable. It's not these players, like, they will come in, they will try it, they will play it to some extent, and then they will like disappear. Of course, the best spikes that we saw were ones which were very natural. So natural spikes in the game's history, where we had this like big player base coming from Hearthstone because they were unhappy of the economy in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And they heard that Gwent's economy is really, really generous because it has been always. And that's when we see like big player like Exodus, like them moving, to Gwent, and it was awesome. And we also saw some content creators, streamers. That was the time where Super JJ, Life Coach, came over, and those were things that that wasn't a marketing pusher on our side. They naturally gravitated towards the game, and it's also something that you will see in card games in general. I feel like, of course, you can pay content creators to create content for your game, try it for a week, and you invest money on that just to increase visibility. But I feel like it's always not very genuine from this point that, that person will play it for a week or a couple days. It's having like sponsored, I'm playing this, and then they will move on to whatever they play on a daily basis, because that's where they get their viewers. That's where they get, their income from. So it's I feel like you need to be building a player base more organically, in a way that you're doing content drops, you're doing balance, you're doing multiple things for the game, making it grow, making it better, make it established on the market without throwing cash on marketing because it doesn't give you any return on investment. That's the biggest problem. Of course, it makes sense in AAA titles because it's selling you copies. Here, we're not selling copies. This is a free-to-play game. This is a multiplayer free-to-play game. People will try it, they will like it, or they won't like it. They will stick with it, or they will move on to something else.
Yeah,
I feel like card games.
Mm-hmm. No, I was gonna say I feel like the ROI, the return on investment on these, is for card games is so much more difficult because the ROI is so much easier when it's like you said, like, okay, we made this marketing campaign and it resulted in X amount of extra sales of The Witcher 3 or of Cyberpunk or The Witcher 4 pre-sales or whatever. In this, it's downloads is the initial walkthrough, but that doesn't return you any money. The download is nothing. It's just there's this extra layer, this extra step to push the player to not just buy the game, but you need to have them play it, enjoy it, and then toss money at it. And that money that they toss at it is not going to be on the same level of paying X amount of dollars for just have access to the game in general. So I feel like marketing these games, marketing card games, is always it's a bigger struggle because there's so much more that a player needs to do for you to actually attain a decent ROI.
Yeah, it's very difficult to gauge this in a proper manner, right? And like you can be trying to get players from other CCGs. Like I mean, when it comes to ads, as many of you probably know or don't know, like you can kind of think about how you target them and to which audience it's going. I also feel like, it's very hard to market a CCG to an RPG fan, because these are two different type of like game enjoyers, let's say.
Yeah.
One is going to choose RPGs because they're there for the story, and a CCG player will play multiple CCGs, and have one as their favorite or two as their favorite, or maybe all three or even four as their favorite, and jump between them depending on what they want to play, at a given moment. And I feel like, these are very hard to define. And I also feel like if you're a CCG player, you most likely you are so consumed within the card game that you're playing, it's very unlikely for you to try something. Like you might try it, but I feel like you will bounce off of it and go back to, your card game of choice in this case. So I feel like, it doesn't matter. Like people always give us this number one thing, like, oh my God, this game is so good, I'm in love with it. Why doesn't CDPR do more marketing for it? Like, how would you envision us doing marketing for it? Like just doing ads? Like we can do ads, but is it going to bring us more players? Are more people going to actually, discover and like say like, oh my God, this game is so good? Actually, what you are doing, this person saying that the game is so good on Reddit, on Discord, on social media and stuff like that, is bringing it more, more eyeballs are actually churning because you're talking to the crowd, which is already there, developed in that part of the community, right? So you're talking directly to the people who are interested in it. And I mean, I could go outside and say like, hey, you want to play Gwent? And people be like, what's Gwent? It's a card game.
Yeah.
I don't play card games. So it's like, that's how I feel about ads. Like, it's very hard to hit the nail on the coffin and get something good off of this.
My what I've learned from this is that the best, at least in the past few years, the most eyeballs that have ever been on Gwent have usually come off the back of another card game massively screwing up to some degree. Be it an economy decision that they make, be it some sort of change in plans or a change to the competitive scene. I don't know how many times, as soon as some other game makes a mistake or does something bad, the amount of Reddit threads that will be like, just came from XYZ game, how is Gwent in terms of, in relation to this topic that the other game messed up. Be it economy. It's like, oh, they just did this, and how's Gwent? I hear it's good. A lot of the marketing I see that is effective is off the backs of other games screwing up, or the word of mouth, like you mentioned, of players that exist in this game. I don't know how many times other like I'm lucky enough to be friends with a lot of casters from a lot of different games, from Runeterra and Magic to Card, CCG, and all these other card games, TFT. Like I have good friendships with a lot of these people. And a lot of them hear about Gwent. They know that I'm from Gwent, but they've never dipped their toe in. But a lot of them ask me about it. And I talk it up a lot, and I always offer my time to walk them through it. And that is, to me, where the marketing is most effective, is when you as a player can
word of mouth,
can endorse it, because you're like, look, I would not have invested 5,000 gameplay hours into something that I didn't like. And if for all of those out there are thinking, well, oh, he's a CDPR shill. I'm not a CDPR shill. I don't work for CDPR. I mean, I'm an independent contractor that gets when so this is another misconception, is that I don't work for CDPR. I'm not their employee. I get a contract in the mail that I sign and then I work for, and then it's gone. I have an NDA regarding new content, but beyond that, I can say whatever the hell I want. Now, it's at my own risk, because if I say something that they don't like, I might not get hired, but ultimately, it has nothing to do with that. So when I talk up Gwent and say that it's a great game, I mean it. I'm not saying it because I'm on a payroll, because I'm not. I'm merely honest about it, and I am honest to the degree that I feel like the best method of marketing is literally telling a friend and showing them and taking the time to explain the game, because everybody who I've spoken to about this game, who plays other card games, the major hurdle is the fact that it's a foreign concept in terms of what the win condition is. But beyond that, everybody I've showed it to, I spent many hours playing with That's Admirable in Nathan Zamora, a major Hearthstone TFT caster, etc., like legend in the industry. I sat and we played because he wanted to learn it, and he was all about it. He was super into it. He thought it was a great game. He had other things that he had to do, obviously. He's got stuff that, but like, he streamed it for many weeks because he really liked the game. But it was that initial hurdle of having somebody to sit there and walk you through, because it's not the same rule set that is transferable with some minor tweaks and changes and modifications. No, it's a whole other thing. Like, you could eat a Macintosh apple and a Gala apple, and you'll be like, all right, it tastes a little bit different, but I know it's a freaking apple. But if you take an apple and then show someone a pineapple, they'll be like, well, the word apple's in it, I should probably expect the same thing. It's like, well, no, you gotta, like, don't bite into it like an apple. Like, there's, it's a weird analogy, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, it makes total sense, and I think it's like word of mouth and actually talking to a card game player about a different card game and saying how cool it is actually goes a bigger way than trying to market to general public, right? It's totally different, and yeah, like trying to explain it also. I think with the gameplay that you have within Gwent, it's so different. Like, when it comes to the number of cards you have in hand, that there's no mana system, that you need to win a best of 3 within the game itself. Like, it's pretty much ranked mode plus the seasonals plus like casual, which nobody really plays, and that's really it. Like, there's no standard, there's no modern, there's no legacy, there's no multiple formats, right? It's very, of course, standard rotation. Flake already kind of waiting for that to kind of appear, put a smile on his face. But yeah, it is such a different game and different beast to kind of get into that. I mean, you have to explain it to someone, or if someone is interested in the game. Like, I have a very good example of I worked with video editors who wanted to learn Gwent in order to create gameplay for the trailers that we were creating. And one of the guys that joined the company, the first thing he did is he went on YouTube, watched what the content creators were saying about Gwent, watched their, tutorials and stuff like that. And from that, he learned how to play the game so well that he got to pro rank.
Nice.
And then he defeated everybody in a tournament that we had within, the CDPR office.
Nice.
And that person still, he currently is not working on Gwent per se, but is working on all our, let's say, global trailers and stuff like that. He still checks out Gwent content and still wants to know like what's happening within the meta because he liked the gameplay so much. And this is a person that doesn't play CCGs. This is a person that only games he plays mostly are RPGs and stuff like that. But you need to yourself kind of like the good thing about Gwent is we have an internal great marketing system which consists of the community that we have around the game itself and the amount of people that are here are creating content, and this content is you can discover it very easily, like the stuff that Thea is doing, Shinmiri, Lionheart, Spessy, just to name a few. It's very easily discoverable on YouTube, and I feel like this is also a different topic that we can totally get into, is that a lot of us right now, when we're thinking about doing anything that we do not have the skills for, is what we do. We go on YouTube and we see pretty much, I don't know, how to set up your stream, how to fix a puncture in your tire in your bike, for example. Like, you have tutorials for all of that. You have tutorials for how to set up a camera, how to set up whatever, lighting, whatever you want to do. Everything's out there and it's discoverable. And I feel like the biggest push is done by these content creators that we're lucky to have. Easy.
I'm going to give Lionheart a little compliment sandwich here. Because I'm glad that you mentioned Lionheart, because I adore Lionheart with all my heart and soul. Lionheart is currently hosting the Witcher Trivia Show, which you were on. And it is exceptional. It makes Gwent Trivia look like a steaming bowl of elephant piss. It is that good. So go check it out. It's on the Gwentfinity channel.
At least you didn't use hot garbage.
I changed it up. I knew you were expecting hot garbage, but you like that one? Steaming bowl of elephant piss. So
it's a nice one.
I know. However, this is the meat of this compliment sandwich. Lionheart, who has been putting out exceptional videos, just recently saw one of his latest ones where he fell into that shake my head, wave my finger at you, Lionheart trap of titling it, "Is this the best deck in Gwent?" ?
Oh, yes.
Oh, Lionheart, come on, man, you're better than that.
That's how it works.
That's know what gets you're better clicks. Than that, Lionheart. Come on, you know the rule. The rule is if you ask a question in a title, the answer is probably no. Now, I know that I don't write the titles for these YouTube videos for our stuff, but I know why it happens. But the overall question of "Is this the best deck in Gwent?" ? The answer is no. It might be the deck that you're winning with today, but I'm waiting for the follow-up video, which is the most overrated deck in Gwent? And it's the same deck. Like, I've seen it before. And to add extra bread to this compliment sandwich, Lionheart being one of the most positive, fun, awesome, great streamers out there, and him and I, we have the Council of Mats, of which currently there are 2 members, myself and him. And I don't know who else is going to be on the Council of Mats in the future, but Lionheart is one of the people whom I love him. I love speaking to him. I love what he does. And he is one of those people where you want to just, put all your chips on Lionheart, because he's a awesome human being.
Dude, there's nothing more I can add. But yeah, like the content he creates and the stuff that he's done on how you think The Witcher on the trivia show is just incredible. And he's also an awesome caster, great human being just to talk to, very humble, very nice.
Is he the greatest Gwent personality ever? ?
I don't know. I love everybody the same. But yeah, I see what you did there with the title. But yeah, I mean those type of titles, when it comes to card games, they get you clicks. I'm sorry to say.
I know. Look, trust me. I completely get it, because Mark Theus, who produces all of our videos here, he knows all this stuff. He knows all the ins and outs. He's done all the research. He's spoken to all the people in the industry to understand how these algorithms. I know the strategy, and I am too much of a freaking doofus caveman to adapt to these kinds of things. So I am going to be the old man on the porch spraying my hose at someone like Lionheart, who's walking by and waving and saying, "Hello, Mr. Demaco," and I'm like, "Get off my lawn!" and I'm just spraying him with the hose. Like, get out of here, you whippersnapper.
No, come on. Whatever gets some clicks and whatever makes his channel
grow. But the difference is that the actual content he's making is amazing, and like I wish,
amazing.
Yeah, no, he is exceptional. So
I need to catch up on more of his guys and actually become better with something else than Squaretel.
Get to pro
rank with Lionheart.
Do you want me to like co-stream with you and do this? Like, I will get you there. We'll get there, buddy. Like, you and I will get you.
I first want to try myself, and if I get to a point where I do not succeed, I will for sure. I was thinking about this actually today. It will be like, since I'm currently rank 3, trying to get to rank 0, going back and forth. Maybe it would be good to like piggyback off of someone and kind of get their help when it comes to. But I feel like the more games I play and the more games I lose, the more I'm actually learning based off of the things that, okay, when I'm playing against this again, it's very easy to go against it. Like, people complain about Mill. Like, I play Squaretel exclusively. I played 3 different Squaretel decks. One is Dwarves, the other one is the ambush one, and I also play this weird movement one right now. I never lost to Mill. Never ever lost to Mill. It's like you just 2-0 them and they don't know what's happening.
Yeah. I will say this. There's a lot of I don't say complaints, questions, let's say, on Reddit for this particular episode about Mill. My response is always, Mill is trash. Mill has been trash for about 4 or 5 years now. If you cannot beat Mill, that's not a Mill problem. That's a you problem. You just I'm just saying. Look, Mill will dunk on Hyperthin. It will. That's the reality of it. But right now we're in a meta where dwarves are very good. If Mill is very rampant, play dwarves and laugh at them, because you have so many engines.
Boost them and don't care.
Yeah, and then go and 2-0 them. And all the stuff that they're probably yoinking out of your deck is not really going to factor in, because there's very few key clutch single card win conditions in dwarves. It's this conglomeration of all of them helping each other. Ultimately, look, Mill is not the problem. It's not you. If I'm Mill, I'm saying it's not me. It's you. Like, that's what it is. It's definitely not
the classic.
Yeah. So there we go. Anything else you want to touch on regarding marketing before we go to the mailbag? We got a pretty spicy mailbag this week.
Yeah. If you actually have a marketing degree in like a degree, if you actually have a degree in marketing, feel free to give opinions, pointers, and stuff like that. If you have no idea about it, leave it to the people who know a little bit more about it.
I'm just waiting for the people to post like, "We'll just do better marketing." Oh, yeah. 4 years in university. Dude, that's the
easy.
I should have thought of that. Absolutely. Oh, just win the game. Oh, whoops. Just play better. Oh, just draw better. Oh, thank you, idiots. All right.
I was actually watching Emil's stream, and someone asked her for like the best pointer and to rank up in Gwent, and she's like, just win. Everybody's just like, yeah, just win. Just win.
Got it.
But it's the fundamentals of any card game. Just win, and you will level up, and you will rank up, and then it's easy. You go to Gwent Open, just win, and you win the whole thing.
Dude, I remember I was playing for a semi-competitive Overwatch team, and I was like, this was like 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago. I was really, really into Overwatch, and a buddy of mine, who you might know or the community might know offhand by the name of House. He's one of my closest friends, almost like a brother to me. I've known him since high school. He is probably one of the best like FPS players that I've ever played with. He's so damn good at everything regarding it, and he was on a very high level competitive Overwatch team. And he's like, if you really want to, he's like, we have like a quote unquote like a farm team, like a minor league team. He's like, you could play and with them. So I joined their team and I played, and we were getting coaching from somebody, and the coaching advice that I would get would be like, oh no, just shoot them in the head. I'm like, oh, okay. Like,
Easy.
yeah, like I'm here for strategy. I'm here for, advice. Telling me to just play better is not advice. So after practicing for like several hours, I finally spoke up and I'm like, do you have any advice on like anything other than just shoot better? Like, is that like, like I get it. Like I know that shooting them in the head is a better outcome than shooting them in the body. It's I get that. But can you explain how to play this map effectively, how to defend this choke point effectively? Can you explain what heroes counter this? Like, I want the fundamentals. And then after that, I wrote them a letter. I said, hey, I appreciate your time and whatever. Unfortunately, it's not working out. I learned nothing. See you later. Goodbye. And that was it. I was like, it was literally a whole system of various ways to say, just get good. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
Thanks, coach. Yeah, no problem.
I mean, the more you play, the more you learn, right? It kind of goes back to your saying that, I mean,
you're not losing if you're learning.
Exactly. That's pretty much, like, even if you lose, you still take a lot of, like, let's say good baggage, let's say, from the game that you just played, and you're becoming better. So
all right, we got a mailbag, but between now and the mailbag, we got something called 983shop.com because we don't have a sponsor, so we're just doing it ourselves. Okay, so if you go to 983shop.com, 983shop.com, and check out all the cool stuff. There's stuff from this podcast. There's stuff from other 983 Media podcasts, Gwentfinity stuff. If you use the code
Flurza5.
Damn right. If you use the code Flurza5, you get $5 off your order.
You can become a Dagon Rumor reporter. So there is a mug, there is a hoodie, and there is a t-shirt. Beautiful, beautiful colors. Super well made. This is premium stuff.
Yeah,
and if
you
order
tokens, baby.
Yeah, this is premium stuff. You wanted premium tokens, you can get a premium t-shirt. Easy. And if you get this stuff and if you order it today, I saw that because I actually checked it out today. Shipping will be happening by the end of April, beginning of May. So get up on that before it's gone. I actually checked today. The code Flurza5 is working. Everything's awesome. $5 off. And yeah, get all three things. Yeah, show it off, take photos, send us photos of you wearing that stuff. I'm totally happy to see that.
I'm trying to get Mark to make some of the products to have Babcha Marisha's face and some of the words that she says like on the back. I want to get. I don't know if that'll ever sell, but if you guys have ideas of stuff that you want to see, potentially from this show. But you too can be a Dagon rumor reporter, and when people ask what the hell is Dagon, you say I got a 0% chance of telling you what's up.
Yeah.
All right. 983shop.com. Support
983shop.com
and show off all the goodness. All right, it's mailbag time. Let's do the transition.
All right, welcome back to the mailbag where we answer your questions submitted through Reddit and Twitter. And first up, we have the Ya1423. As far as I'm concerned, it's not exactly the place for questions, but as they say, it is what it is. How would look like, and is there a place for team tournaments in Gwent?
Ooh, this one actually came in through YouTube, so this is a new outlet for people to talk to us.
Spicy.
Team tournaments is something that occurs in various other card games. Team tournaments exist in Magic. Team tournaments exist in like Flesh and Blood and other paper related games. Basically, the concept of certain team tournaments there's various different formats. But the one that I played in, and I actually entered a tournament with Alias V and her husband. It was a three-person team tournament where we got I think we got 12 packs of a new set of cards, or a new set of Magic. We got 12 packs, and what we needed to do is within those 12 packs create 3 decks, and then it's basically you play 3 games, and against another team of 3. So you line up like boom, 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 all 3 of you against the other 3, and I think it was a best of 1, or maybe it was a best of 3, but it's like whatever team wins 2 or more games in that matchup gets the quote unquote team win. And then you progress through the Swiss rounds like that, and then there was a playoff. And we ended up winning that tournament, which was awesome.
Nice.
I believe that team tournaments in Gwent would be really cool in the regards of like, all right, this player is like, here's the team. This is the Squirtle player, this is the so-and-so player, and this is the whatever player. Like, they each come in with a faction. Each faction is 3 leaders, and they play off against another team, and the matchups occur, and you have to win 2 out of 3 against that player using one of those 3 leaders. No bans, no nothing. It's just, that's kind of... I think that team tournaments would look amazing.
I agree. We just need to think how to format them within a tournament platform that it makes sense. Because I remember back in the days of old Gwent before Homecoming, there were teams around Gwent which were creating these type of tournaments where you had different teams go against other teams, and they were pretty much structured within and like this very like intricately done bracket, and they would go against each other, and the team with the most, let's say, winners would be the one on top, and they would go to the semis and then to the finals. So I feel like it is something that could be done, but we would really like I think the idea that Flake just kind of mentioned here, where there are some limitations in terms of like the factions you can use and the leaders within a faction would make it like sensible and workable. So I love the idea. Question is if we can pitch it to Vlad somehow. Maybe we can.
Show him this video.
Yes.
Next question.
I hope he's watching. He better be watching.
He's always watching. Of course. He's the watcher. Andy Ursina asks, was Golden Necker always planned to be a golden statue? I thought it was a living creature. That's a fascinating question. I honestly thought it was a living creature too, until I think a lot of the theme from Forbidden Treasures started to come out, and I was like, oh, these are a lot of items, so this is probably some sort of like idol, you know?
Yeah, that was the idea. I don't think if you look at Witcher lore, like I know we as CDPR have kind of taken lore to different extremes and extents, but I feel like I don't feel like there's a place for a golden necker living creature. So it was turned into a statue, and it kind of made sense. And I mean, it's connected to the whole project, so no spoilers here. But yeah, it's not a living creature, and it wasn't supposed to be a living creature for sure.
All right, there you go. That one's put to bed. Next up.
All right. Next up, the question from Trey, aka at the third Larry 85. We always get questions from him, which is awesome.
And they're always good questions too, so thank you, Trey.
Always good questions, yeah. I would love to know your thoughts on scenarios from 2 slightly different angles. A, would you like to see more scenarios in the future? And B, do you think that's something Gwent's team are considering in the near to mid future? Thanks for the great show every week, fellas. Thank you for watching, and thank you for the questions, man.
I never liked scenarios, ever. I still don't like scenarios, and I'll tell you why. It's no secret, obviously, the first card game I ever played was Star Wars CCG. Star Wars CCG was kind of the first card game that came out with quote-unquote scenarios. They're called objectives. Objectives were released in the later stages of the game, like little past midway point of its existence. And what they were, so let me just kind of set the scene for how Star Wars was. Star Wars started as everybody gets to start with one location. Locations are places where you can put your characters, and they're what generate you your resource. And as you played the game and drew more cards, you'll draw more locations, which further flesh out the card game board and allow you to generate more resources, and it kind of develops more and more into, that's kind of how it goes. As the game progressed, they eventually came out with something called an objective. An objective was a card that started on the board, and if certain criteria would met, the objective would flip over, and you'd get a myriad of different bonuses. However, the difference is that the objective itself had game text that said, this starts on the board. Also, out of your deck, play these 3 locations. So it basically supercharged your start to the point where nobody played without objectives because it was important to have that head start on resource generation and thinning out your deck of all the locations that were detrimental to draw. But it also created a situation where you actually had very sometimes strict deck building guides or restrictions associated to the objective, where the objective would say you can no longer play aliens, or you can no longer play rebels, or you can no longer play starships or whatever. So suddenly there was this formulaic way of taking this objective and playing it quote unquote properly. It's like, this is the optimized way to play this, to the point where it took out every other deck that didn't play objectives and made them completely awful because they were just so far behind everything else. And that's why when I saw, they did it in Hearthstone too with quests. Quests were the same thing. They started in your hand, you played them, you had to meet criteria. But eventually it's like, okay, here's a really good head start that I can get when I accomplish the goal, which for the most part people could accomplish in short order in 1 or 2 turns. The objective is flipped over, and now there's game text that says all of your characters are +2, and all of this, and all of that, and all of this. So there was no reason not to play it, but at the same time, it created a situation where you have to play it, and you have to play it with these cards, and there's not much room for leeway. And everybody who's not doing this, you're left in the dust. With Gwent, scenarios came out, and it's like, okay, these have such a high ceiling in terms of what they could possibly do, that when they first came out, it's like, why would you play anything other than this? Like, it's just...
But yeah, when they came out, they were like overtuned for sure.
Certainly they were. Absolutely. But also beyond that, it's like, okay, if I have to play this because it's so good, I also need to play Death Wish because that's what triggers Hunt. And if I'm playing Death Wish, there's only certain amounts that are better than others, and there's only one leader ability that really supports it. So what? So this is why I really disliked scenarios, because it kind of it honed down people's competitive sort of outlook to just scenarios being the best, and then you had to build around those. So now it's different because the scenarios themselves, the provisions have been adjusted, and they're not as amazing. But I mean, let's be real. Siege runs the show for Northern Realms, and but at a time, that's why I don't want new scenarios. I don't want these decks that are essentially built around one card and supporting one card. I don't think it's good for the game. And if I would take out all the scenarios as they exist right now.
I would leave the ones that we have, but I also would not add any more. I feel like there is more than enough currently in the game, and I feel like adding more would just make it weird. Like, we already see like Mushy Truffle, right, being copied multiple ways and trying to be kind of like a thing, and I'm not a big fan of that, to be honest. And I feel like the number that we have right now is good. Like, and I think that's Mushy being the latest addition to the roster. And I feel like at least one per faction is okay, but I would not do more.
I agree. Zayad Tarek at Zayad Neo asks, favorite deck that each of you keep coming back to and find fun patch after patch? It's a good one.
It's a good one. With me recently coming back to Gwent and then playing a little bit more than I used to, like, always the go-to would be something with elves, which is good at a given time. So it throughout the years, it was always something different. Dwarves was also something that I like to play unless they were just bad, but I always kind of like playing a control type of version of Scoia'tael with a lot of removal. Maybe it can be Madoc, maybe it can be something different. I just like the opportunity of being a more interactive deck, and having a more interactive, let's say, game plan. So that would be my answer. But I'm kind of limited by one faction, and that is something that I like, and it's kind of it's a good thing and a bad thing. What about you?
I'm gonna say, I mean, there's 2 answers here for me. One is just Nilfgaard Assimilate I think that it's just because every game feels like it's played differently because you're playing off of your opponent so much. So I enjoy it because it's a different game every time. It's very it keeps the brain going. It no longer feels like going through the motions. I know a lot of people hate Assimilate, then they hate Nilfgaard in general. I just find that Nilfgaard offers to me the most complete and interactive kind of experience when it comes to Gwent. And so whenever there's a new patch, I'll usually eventually fall back on that list and modify it and change it because I just enjoy it, and that's perfectly fine. The other one, and this is going to surprise a hell of a lot of people, is
Alumni.
It's Iced, and whatever leader, I forgot the name. The leader that allows you to chuck a unit at your opponent and discard it out of your deck. Oh god, the one that works with Iced. Why am I not remembering it right now? Anyways, that Skellige list of like warriors and Iced, to me, every single time new cards come out, it's typically the first one I'll go and try when it comes to Skellige because I just enjoy it a lot. I like playing that list in general. I don't like Skellige, a lot of what Skellige does, but I like that list. So I typically go back and try that one out whenever new cards come out.
Okay. Nice. Good choices. I was surprised by the Skellige one, to be honest.
Yeah, well, Skellige's I mean, look, my I think
That's
I'm coming
Blaze
around.
Of Glory.
I'm coming around. It is Blaze of Glory. There you go. I think what I'm doing is I'm coming around on Skellige as a whole, but I still feel like Lippy is the biggest stain on card gaming ever. Lippy is what
ruined Skellige for you.
Well, basically, Lippy is literally what bad players play to get to pro rank. Good players can play Lippy, but bad players can play Lippy too. So, it's a crutch of a list is what it is. It's like the most boring, asinine thing ever, and I will constantly go up to bat to have that list just shredded to pieces if possible.
Nice.
All right, next
up. One. Yep. Next one by Yellow on Reddit. With cards like Wanderers, Ring, and Torque in the game now having a positive reception, has there been any reignited discussions in the backroom about the design space of beta leaders?
This is a fascinating one. I really like this question, so thank you for submitting it. Yeah, I mean, the uniqueness of some of these cards that have come out, things like Wanderers, Ring, and obviously Torque and whatever, it's opened up some more design space because I think that a lot of these very odd interactions or unique style cards may have not necessarily been everyone's flavor back then, but the fact that they've kind of been very slowly fed to the community and the reaction has been relatively positive for them and whatnot, I think has just sort of opened up the developers and the people designing these cards to say, okay, we people are okay with some unorthodox stuff, you know, like they're okay with some very outlandish type of interactions in cards. But when it comes to the leaders, I'm trying to think of what those beta leaders were that, you know, would have a space with what we're doing right now. And keep in mind, if new leaders are introduced, you need to introduce 6. So it's not just about having 2 good ideas, you need 6 good ideas. I think that, you know, if you look back at it, like, what could you bring back? Like, could you bring back the Francesca ability that had to get bounced because of how OP it was? Like, what ability are you thinking? Remember, wasn't there an Unseen Elder ability that was like boost all units on your side of the board by 2 or something like that? Like
there was back in the day, yeah.
Hence out, like, promote all your units on a row to gold, and there's a whole bunch of weird stuff.
Yeah, I feel like with the current cards that just dropped for Forgotten Treasures, I think it shows kind of the ideas that we have for the game moving forward. And I feel like what you said sums it up perfectly. Like, it opened up a lot of design space for the developers to do crazy things and maybe things that are, like you said, a little bit unorthodox. So I think it is kind of the trajectory in which we're trying to go, while still maintaining this thing that we'll be going back to existing cards which are underperforming and giving them cool abilities that fall into these factions and reworking those as we go. So I would say yes, like, and it is something that, you know, is in the talks. And I also feel like the designers themselves, they're very happy that they have new possibilities within the game right now to do things which are a little bit more crazy, a little bit more cool, and just play around with the card abilities that they're designing right now.
This one's from Cruise Controller. Hi, Flake and Burza. That's us. That's us.
Exactly. Hello.
Will we ever get a legendary plant card? I'm putting this in here because I know what the answer is probably going to be.
I don't know,
dude. I have said if there was a gold plant card, imagine like a gold Archospore that's just like the fucking alpha, Archospore, like the big dog,
alpha Archospore,
and
jacked,
and like it's called Larry, and it's just the bigger one. I would love to see a gold card like the old Archospore that functions like the old Archospore used to. That if it comes in, imagine it was like an 8-point gold that comes in at like 6 strength or 5 strength in an armor and bounces from row to row and deals 1 random damage. At the start of your turn, whatever damage is dealt to it gets healed back up. Is that crazy? Like, you're taking an existing kind of thing. Like, it's not a bad card. It's a monster card. It's a plant. It's a gold card called Larry. 6 strength, 9. It bounces around.
I don't know if we could call him Larry. That's not very lore accurate.
Well, put it in the flavor text.
That makes sense.
Like, why can't you call him Larry? Like, it's a freaking plant. Like, you can make things up. Come on. I'd rather see this than Renfree. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, probably. I also like cards that are more quirky than the ones that are portrayed after some of the most important key figures within the Witcher lore. But yeah, would be cool. I don't know, to be honest, if they have a legendary plant card in the works and thinking about it. Knowing our design team, probably not. But I don't know. But it's Flake's kind of thing for having a Larry card. But if we ever do a Larry card, I will for sure pitch in the idea for him to voice it, make plant noises.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Listen, all of my suggestions are filed under the paper shredder, so it's all good. Every time I'm like, how about this? They're like, yeah, no problem. Right through the paper shredder. I'm like, all right. I mean, they're not all good, but still, we can dream. All right. Last one.
Last question.
This is a juicy one because there's a lot to dig into here. So we'll read the question and then Pavel and I will tackle this one. The question is from Joseph 66 Hole. There's a name. Hot button topic. How do community managers vet content creators? Why do companies wait until the issues boil over before doing anything? You can get the first crack at this, obviously, because you are the community manager.
Pretty much when it comes to content creators versus how companies interact with them, it looks in a way where normally the content creator comes to you via email or via any type of DM saying that they really like the game. Here is their channel. They have been creating content and they kind of want to see if we can cooperate in some way. Either it's paid or it's unpaid, or we just have people who come in, start playing the game, and they get recognized. Like, not every game has a partner program like we do, in which you can apply for to become a Gwent partner. And that just gives you additional status and kind of is like a staple saying that, we have recognized you and we have seen your content and the stuff that you're doing is awesome for Gwent and for its growth. So it's kind of just like a welcome to the community. And of course, partners, they get chosen for reveals and for stuff like that. They're part of a separate Discord group in which they can interact with each other and talk. And I feel like we need to separate here a company's communication, a company's kind of, I don't know, communication plans, marketing, plans for the game and stuff like that, and release schedules and whatever we're doing, to what content creators are doing. Of course, we're checking them to a certain extent, but it's not like I will, we're not scanning these people and seeing what they do in their free time and stuff like that. Like, we don't go that in depth. Like, what we check is the content that, you know, they are creating. If there's nothing controversial there or anything that we would consider like a blocker in order for us to cooperate with them. And that is pretty much that. Like, we don't go very, very in depth because, I mean, if we had to check everybody and go through, like, I don't know, the discourse that they're in, or, you know, go around and ask people within the community what they think about them, you would get some, you know, objective and subjective answers when it comes to a certain person. So I feel like what a company always will be doing is, it will be, of course, having content creators that they cooperate with. And if there's some bad blood, or something is not working out, or the content creator does something which is considered, I don't know, any type of bad behavior or something, like, you know, if we go back in time, we had JJ Pasak being part of our community. And remember that guy, he was like super toxic. He was coming in and, you know,
he was a piece of garbage. Look,
he was disrespecting our game director at that time and was throwing like terrible words at us, and we had to go to an extent where we actually banned that. And I think banning is like something that companies try not to do unless someone is being like super toxic and is actually destroying the community that you have within the game. But I feel like also from any type of PR perspective or stuff like that, you try not to get into this internet back and forth with people saying, like, you know, one person says something, the other person says something else, and not trying to have like a public fight. But we always try to, you know, talk with creators on our own and try to, you know, resolve issues if there are any. Unless it's, like I said, unless it's something that is like a showstopper, then we say, okay, well, you know, we cannot cooperate with you anymore and stuff like that. But that hardly ever happens, to be honest. Like, I don't think I've noticed many of these happen throughout my 6 years working in CDPR. But also, I have been mainly focused on the community side, so community management. While we as a company, like, we have a whole separate team that is responsible for contacting and keeping in touch with content creators and working with them, and kind of, you know, doing also some cool special stunts with them, promotional stuff. But also when it comes to the partners program, it's something that me and Ryan pretty much see over. And here is very simple. Like, we check the type of content that you have, and what you're creating, and based off of that, you get the status. And you need to have, I think you also need to have like a certain amount of people watching you and stuff like that. So if you just made one video and you're starting out, you made one stream, like, you're not going to get partnered easily. So yeah, these are the things that we kind of look into. But of course, like, we always keep an ear close to the ground and kind of see what the community is talking about. Because if someone comes to us with any types of allegations against someone, we will look into these things and we will treat them seriously. And we won't be saying like, you know, it's just that guy or girl, she might be doing whatever, or he might be doing whatever. Like, we listen, and we always try to check these things out. So, but I feel when it comes to, like, you know, checking and vetting them in the beginning, like, we do we kind of do like a small check on them, but it's not like a full background check to see what this person does in their personal life, or what they do when they're not creating content and stuff like that, which of course can, you know, lead to problems. But I don't feel like we had many of those when it comes to Gwent and its past and its present and future. Future, we don't know. Maybe we will.
Like,
we don't know.
I understand where this, you know, this question spawned from, or what inspired this question. Obviously, there's somebody out there who recently has just been exposed as being this absolute scumbag that I knew he was many years ago. Look, I understand that the sensitivity of this topic, especially for you, Pablo, is that you know, it's hard for you to sort of say maybe what you want to say, or say everything that you could say potentially regarding, because of, you know, you're a CDPR employee and you have to represent. I'm not a CDPR employee, but I'm not going to take this time to sort of talk about too many details about that. what I do want to say is that I understand where you're coming from with this. That it's not you're not applying for a passport. You know, it's you're applying for a partnership program. So the vetting process can only be what is on the surface available, right? Like as you mentioned, it's really difficult. You can't go digging into somebody's private and personal life and their to vet somebody as being a decent human being or not. It's just not feasible, and the resources are not there, nor is the right for you to do that there. I don't believe it's like if I were to apply for the Gwent partnership program and you said, okay, we're gonna need your text history, your DM history, I'd be like, take a hike. I'd be like,
No,
get lost.
we would not be able even to check that from you. Like we would be legally not
Correct.
able to ask you for that.
Exactly. You're not applying for a firearm here where you need to do a background check or criminal history or whatever. And even then, there was no previous criminal history for the scumbag that we're offhand mentioning or referring to here. And for the record, ever since I dealt with this person at Wild Hunt 1 or 2, I forgot which one it was, back in Philadelphia in 2017, I was very vocal about anybody who asked me about what I thought about this person and why I would never want to be involved with this person. It was that this person was a manipulative, absolute a-hole, selfish, narcissist scumbag. I've never shied away from saying that. I didn't go out and shout it from the hilltops, but there was this following mentality, this really cringe-esque, really scary kind of cult mentality of streamer worship that I think is the worst effing thing, and that really turns me off from streaming in general. I
agree with you.
Look, I've said this, I've tweeted about it, and whatever. We even talked about it, I think, a couple episodes ago or whatnot. But in reality, this whole thing of people deifying and worshiping streamers, that they can do no wrong, that they're great people, you don't know them at all. You don't know me. You don't know Pavel. I'm not saying that we're bad people either, but I'm just saying that you do not know a damn thing about us. I try to be as transparent, and my personality reflects pretty accurately here. But you know what? If you want to know who I am and how I am, ask people who are friends of mine, and they'll tell you. But if you had asked me or whatever about what I think about that certain someone, I would have told you 5 years ago that this person was bad news and a piece of garbage. And frankly, that opinion is echoed by a lot of people who deal with him. And I feel so bad for all the people who follow him and blindly think that this person was like some god because they're good at a fucking card game. But you know what? In reality, look at the damage and destruction and manipulation and taking advantage of people that this person did. And I said this so long ago, and I told people that this person was a absolute manipulative scumbag. And here we are, and it's absolutely terrible. It's abhorrent that this is how people find out. That somebody had to suffer so fucking bad they could not take it anymore, that this is what happens. That those little seeds that were planted so long ago, that this massive following of, oh, he's got so many viewers and he's good at card games and he makes cool decks, he's got to be a good person. No, stop it. Absolutely freaking stop it right now. If you're listening to this and you think that like all the streamers are amazing people, all of them, whatever, like just erase that from your mind. You do not know these people. Stop worshiping streamers. Stop it. It's embarrassing. It's actually embarrassing. You could like them, you can enjoy their content, but this blind following of these people and thinking that they're just all godly and saintly, and you have to give them money and you have to support them and you have to, you have to stand at their defense. You don't know a damn thing. And this is a tragic situation where people finally figure out that eventually that house of cards falls down and all of this stuff is coming out in the open. And I am absolutely terrified about how many other people are currently going through this kind of shit that people don't know about. It's scary and it's sad. And this is one of the reasons why I no longer enjoy streaming regularly, because I don't want to add or be a part of that culture. That's it. Podcasting's a different story. I love doing this. I love hanging out with you. I'm sorry I'm going on this like emotional tirade here.
No. I sorry. I'll cut in because I agree with you. I do not understand, and I never understood why we as humans try to take people to a pedestal where we are trying to worship them based off of the content that they're creating and putting out online. because they feel like because of this, they know the person, like they know what type of person they are, how they treat their close ones, their family members, what kind of person they are in real life. And it's totally not like you can have people, creating content, smiling in front of a camera, and then going offline and being, I don't know, sad, miserable, depressed, I don't know, doing bad things, doing good things. But you don't know them in that, like if you wanted to get to know that person, like you would sit down with them and actually talk to them and get to know them. And I've never understood this. And I myself felt weird when I would go to, I don't know, a gaming convention and people knew me from Gwent and they like wanted autographs or take photos with me. I'm like, I'm just a normal guy. And I've always tried to say like, I'm just a normal person. Like there were these awkward situations when I was riding in the subway and like some, kids would come up to me like, oh my God, it's you. And you're so incredible and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, like you like Gwent and stuff
well,
like that.
We'll
talk to them.
Yeah.
But I do not need this like validation. I do not need this being treated like anyone else because I consider myself just a normal human being, like you and me. And I feel like whenever I'm streaming, I'm not streaming for people to come and follow me and say, oh my God, you're so amazing, you're so great, and stuff like that. It's just more, I treat streaming and content creation more in the terms of like, people say like, I enjoy this, or they can ask me questions about the game itself and I can provide answers, or we can talk about their day. We can talk about any type of subject that is like going on right now. And it's like a back and forth interaction. If you're a social person, you like this. And I don't feel like whoever's coming to my stream should, treat me as I am any different than they are, because we are just here together because we're drawn together because of a card game that I get to work on. So I'm kind of, privileged in this way, but still we're not very much any different. And I don't need to be taken into like a higher ground or put on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And being worshipped and stuff like that, because I like from what I've learned being 35 years old is like your heroes that you have, like it makes sense when you're young. And when you get older, you're kind of seeing that maybe these people that you treated as heroes, they had some influence on you and kind of on your development. But you should be giving now more credit to yourself for being the person you are, and putting on the forefront the important things in life, which is like treating others better, or working on some of the things that are not your strong points, and trying to create your own image to a way where you're happy with it, but not through the sense of I want to be like him or I want to be like her. Like you don't have to do that. Like just be yourself, but try to be always working on yourself and stuff like that. So that is something that I think makes sense. But yeah, I agree with you. Like worshiping content creators or streamers or whatever,
it's unhealthy.
Just doesn't make sense.
It's
doesn't
unhealthy.
Make sense.
It's absolutely unhealthy.
It's unhealthy. Yeah.
Like I completely understand. Like it's happened to me, and it obviously, just like you mentioned, it happened to you. Like when I was casting like a Flesh and Blood event, like I've had people come up to me and say that they like my content and whatever, and they wanted a picture and they wanted me to like sign a playmat, which was like ridiculous to me. Like but again, but I understand. Like that to me, I get it. It's odd for me because I'm just anybody. Like it is what it is. I go to the grocery store, like whatever, and I don't see myself as anything special. Other people who like my content, they see me because they like my content and they want to talk to me, and I have all the time in the world for you. Absolutely, stop me. I will chat with you. I will give you, I'll give you 5 solid minutes all the time. Like I appreciate that you appreciate me. There's a difference between that and automatically assuming that person could do no wrong. That as soon as something occurs, that like imagine something occurred with me. I would never want people to automatically assume that I'm in the right based on the fact that I make content that you like. You don't freaking know. I'm not saying that I'm doing anything wrong, but in the same vein, there's this streamer worship that if something happens, automatically siding with that streamer. Automatically. Don't care what's going on. They can't be wrong. I love them to death. Everyone else. And then furthermore, is getting the people who blindly and awfully follow these streamers and worship them go and attack the people who have things to say about this streamer. It is the worst. It is the absolute worst. It is the most disgusting, cringeworthy thing about this whole internet gaming culture.
Yeah, I feel like the problem also here is that most of these back and forths are being done on social media and online, which is even worse. And people are either, standing with one side or defending the other side. While I feel like some people, and because, you and me, we have this approach that like we treat ourselves as normal human beings, but some people, once they get a little bit of popularity, just a little bit more interest than they would normally get, it goes straight to their head, right? And from that point on, they start building this cult following around them while saying like, I'm amazing, I'm great. And they're fed by this by these people who are gathering around them, and they're actually telling them that yes, more, tell me how awesome I am. And they feel like, since they are being, they're getting like validity from the person that they're following, because that person is saying like, you're right, I am awesome and stuff like that, and they're kind of creating this aura around them and this following, which is just unhealthy, right? And it's unhealthy. And then you have these people kind of going then and trying to protect the person, even if that person does something like terrible or wrong, and behaved numerous times in a bad way, where these people should kind of think twice before they start typing or before they open their mouth. So,
and oh boy, I'm telling you, some of the people out there that aren't outed, there's some shady shit that occurs.
Plus, I believe that whenever you're posting anything online, and your username is something 1 2 3 4 whatever, and you don't put your name, last name, and stuff like that, is like, how can I trust you? There should be, I still am a firm believer that there should be like Twitter passports and stuff like that you need to actually show an ID. That
accountability.
Yes, credibility, because you can say whatever you want online, and you can create, like, you can even create these not even bots, but people who will go and try to destroy an account by posting terrible stuff and stuff like that. And this is and these people, they remain anonymous, and it's freaking terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, I think the thing to take away from here is, yes, we check, but we don't do like a full background check. And the other thing is, please remember, do not worship content creators and do not think that they cannot do no wrong, because we're all humans, and by design, how we are, we make a shit ton of mistakes and we fail, and we either learn from this and we either become better or we become worse. And and I mean, we're from the beginning, we're bound to kind of make mistakes and fail in some things, but
if your whole personality
that's life.
Is a streamer and their emotes that they have on Twitch, then you need to reevaluate. But yeah, all right. So thank you for again the question and whatever, and based on recent events, I think it was relevant. And Pavel and I don't shy away from sensitive topics. I think you've known that by now, based on several episodes. If we avoid a question, it's because your question has either been answered before, or it's about balance, and we don't care.
Premium tokens.
And we don't care. So we're not going to answer those. But yeah, we don't shy away from the nitty gritty stuff, as you can see. But that's another episode, Mr. Pavel Burza, and I'm.
Here we go, episode 12.
How do you say? Hold on a second. How do you say Happy Easter? Is it Wesołe Świąt or something like that?
Wesołe Świąt. Tak.
Sweet.
Yes,
I got it. So I'm
nice.
I'm gonna be visiting my mother and my dad, and also my nonna's birthday. I think she's turning 93 or 94, and she knit me a scarf. So I'm gonna go pick up my scarf.
What?
Yeah, baby. I wanted to ask you. I'm putting you on the spot right here. I wanted to FaceTime you with my mom, because I think my mom just wants to say hi to you because she's like,
dude,
who's that nice Polish boy? I'm like, that nice Polish boy is a 35-year-old married man, but okay.
Yes.
So I will connect us when I'm visiting
Let's
my parents.
do it.
All right.
I'm on it. And most importantly, 983shop.com. Get that merch. Use the code Flurza5 for $5 off, and you can get a Dagon Rumor Reporter premium tee available in all sizes from S to triple XL. If you're a big boy or a big girl, get it. Colors. There's also colors. I'm not good with colors, so I won't go through them. But there's a blue, there's like a light blue, there's a darker blue. I think that's purple. I don't know, but I'm actually colorblind. That's one topic that we can once get into. And there's black, which is a color I see very well. Yeah, but I only have problems with some shades of colors. But yeah, and then you have in blue and in black, you have the classic pullover hoodie, which is amazing and looks super snug for those, it's springtime, the weather can be fickle, so it's perfect. And then you have a must-have, which is the black mug for the Dagon Rumor Reporter, because all of us can be Dagon Rumor Reporters. I really like this one. And of course, there's also this beautiful, nice Gwentfinity G with the crown on the mug. Highly recommend. So yeah, get them because they're awesome.
Get them. All right, Mr. Pavel Burza, I'm going to end the stream as I do every other podcast, which is I love you, man.
I love you too, bro, man. This is amazing. I live for these Wednesdays when we can record this podcast.
It's bro time Wednesdays. I love it. All right.
Exactly.
Friends, you're hearing this probably on the Friday, but we are existing in the past and having a good time on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for listening to the Flurza experience. Don't forget, Pavel, you're not what?
You're not losing when you're not. Oh, I always mix it up.
Next week you'll get.
I'm always bad with these.
You're not losing.
You're not losing if you're
learning. See you next week on the Flurza experience. Bye.
Bye.